There you go. Hey guys, this is Slaughtermaniac. Oh my god. If I'm looking a little bit beat up, it's because the last days were a little bit hard and tiring, but finally I have it. Here it is, right there, in this deck box. The last, just a sec. Oh, come on, man. What's that all about? Yeah, okay, great. The last deck that I will introduce to you guys, the Battle City deck of bonz. Now, what can I reveal about this specific character? Of course, bonz had a zombie-based deck, which, to putting it lightly, was very tricky, sneaky. And in the first arc in the Duelist Kingdom, he and his companions were led by none other than Bandit Keith. And he played out some zombie monsters which are contained in this deck as well. I put also a side deck in this specific Battle City deck of bonz, as I have the stance that, as a matter of fact, you can argue whether he had this or that card in his deck. The deck list says one thing, and the community or other YouTubers who put up a deck profile from bonz have other zombie monsters, so it's a variation of zombie monsters that which are contained in it. Of course, there were some which were played out in the anime, and yeah, that's about that. Now, very significant, or just one sentence, that bonz just had 2 duels in the whole of the Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that was a mistake. I think that character or the deck profile of him might have had much more potential in terms of development, as well as the consistency of his deck. And there were just 2 duels, one against Joey in the Duelist Kingdom, the second in the Battle City era against Bakura. And I think it could have been more of that. To say it straightforward, I do like the little bit more sinister character deck profiles. I think they have a mystic shade on them, and I think that's very curious, and curiosity. Bakura is one of my favorites, of course, in that bonz, which had put much potential. Is, I think, very cool too. Now, start up with this monster. First of all, I put in there Red Ogre. Oh, now that is a card which I don't know whether he used. I think it was in one of his deck lists, and as I did research a little bit. But as we do not see any boss monsters in the Battle City saga from him, or in general, except for, of course, one, which is Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts, that will later on also will be revealed in this deck. There's much more potential, and of course, TCG zombie support cards that will eventually make that deck very playable and strong. And I think in other eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! There are many of them as well. I'm not sure. I didn't see the whole of the anime. I mean, like 5Ds. I just saw some, maybe just a few episodes. GX I saw fully, except for the very sinister arc, which is not revealed in Western Europe, at least. I think in the US, maybe just with translation, or not without any translation, or just with subtitles. But I'm not certain of that point too. So yeah, there are many zombie cards which might fit in this character deck as well. Then Lich Lord, King of the Underworld. Now that very card has good stats too. It has 1 tribute and 2,400. It's very similar to Jinzo, and its effect is, I think, not that bad, but yeah, it's appropriate to that deck, and as well as the Red Ogre, of course, is. Then Jack O'Bolin. Now Jack O'Bolin has a very handy effect. You can special summon it. It normally has 2 tributes with just 1,500 attack and 2,200 defense at least, but 2 tributes, so you can special summon it if you discard 1 zombie type monster from your hand to the graveyard. As a result of that, it's very practical in a zombie deck to use that card, and once per turn I think you can special summon even a zombie type monster from either your or your opponent's graveyard. So yeah, it might come very handy in this zombie type deck of monster. Then I put in there 1 card which of course he did not have either. He did not have one of these 3. I think these 2 were in his deck list as I did research, but Lich Lord, King of the Underworld, wasn't. Now that card came in the TCG 1 month ago, I think, or was it 1.5 months now ago, as the Brothers of Legend Monsters Revenge was dropped as this Ghost, Carrier of the Lands, Spear Fighter of the Underworld. It's called. Oh, sorry. There we go. And yeah, so it might come in handy. 2,000 attack with 1 tribute. It's not that bad. Then another card which was on his deck list, which is Dokuro Rider, which is a ritual monster card. And you can of course then ritual summon it with a spell card, which is also in that deck included. Then 1 card which he did play out, but not in the Battle City arc, was Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts. I think the effect of this monster works that way: if you basically have many monsters in your own graveyard, this card's attack increases with 100 points per monster, if I'm not been mistaken. And it works in combination with the Castle of Dark Illusions, which of course is also contained in that deck. Okay. Then further on, Zombie Mammoth, which he, I think, even played out in the Battle City era, but I'm not certain whether he played it also in the Duelist Kingdom arc, but I know for a fact that he did play that out. And then the Undead Rainer or King or Rain, the Rain. I don't know how it's called. The Undead King or something like that. Because in German it's called der unsterbliche Herrscher, but it's or the Undead leader, maybe. I think Rainer was more appropriate, but yeah. Okay, still 1,800 attack, so very practical for the stack. And I think even his effect, is very good in terms of, or in combination with the card Zombie World, if you have that in this deck, which I really highly recommend, since it is a zombie deck, to put in there at least one time, but I would rather even recommend you put it 2 times in there. Then Zombie Master, which was also in the deck list in the World Wide Web that I found. Then another card which might come in handy is the Paladin of the Cursed Dragon, which has a very effective, efficient effect in combination with another card which turns all the cards in the graveyards in their hands to zombie type monsters. I think it is even Zombie World, so these cards are a good combination. Then Curse of Darkness. Oh, Fear from Darkness. I'm sorry. I think that one was also in the deck list contained. Then another of the 2 support cards which were also dropped in the Battles of Legend Monsters Revenge: Ghost Worm Dragon of the Underworld and Ghost Sleeper Princess of the Underworld. Also zombie type monsters, which work with another spell card which is also pulled out of the Battles of Legend Monsters Revenge display, namely Ghost Fusion, which I will try to get to another 2 more to put it in this deck. And then a card which you can perhaps adopt. He might have it, but yeah, we can't be that certain. But yeah, if you conclude it, then it's very logical, which is Pumpkin Princess, the Princess of Ghosts. We can maybe guess that it might be the daughter of the king, which would be very logical. As a king as has his daughter, it might be a princess. Then Nightmare, one of the cards which you need in order to fusion summon the Reaper of the Nightmare, which I do not have right now, but I want to put it in there. In combination with, of course, this card, Spirit Reaper, which has a very handy effect. Both of them I can think if... Now this one can attack your opponent's life points directly, and if this monster card attacks your opponent's life points, you can discard 1 random card from his hand. And this card is not destroyed by battles, but can destroy by, I think, cards which specifically designates this one as a target. Then Soul Absorption, the Bone Tower, which also has a very handy effect. He hadn't this one, but yeah, might have. And then Chaos, the Dead Invoker, which works very well with many cards, not only monster cards, but cards in the graveyard, which increases his attack by, I think, 300 per each card. No, sorry, excuse me. It also works with monster cards. He hadn't this one, but yeah, it also does look like very zombie-like. Still, it isn't. It is a fiend type monster. Then one card which he had was Clown Zombie in this deck. Zombie Dragon, of course, for his Mammoth of Goldfine fusion, which I also have here somewhere. I'll put it in this deck then, if I get it. And I think in combination with Tank Zombie, this one he had, and this one also, and as I already mentioned, this one. Then Blue-Eyed Silver Zombie, which I'm not certain, but he might also have this one, maybe in the Duelist Kingdom era. Then Tree-Legged Zombie, which was contained in this deck list. Magical Ghost, which also might be part of this Duelist Kingdom deck. Then Zombie Shark. I'm not sure. I think maybe also on the Duelist Kingdom arc. He had many vanillas. And Skull Servant, which you need in order to fusion summon one of the fusion monsters, which I have in store for this deck, as well as Blackland Fire Dragon. He had another dragon called Crawling Dragon, but it was a dragon which had 1,600 attack and 1 tribute you needed in order to summon this one. So I put this one in there, which is also a dragon type monster, but has another fusion possibility instead. Now these are about his monsters which I decided to include until now, but I put also a little bit kind of a side deck in there which contains Disparate of the Darkness, 13th Grave, Dark Assailant, Fire Mare, Shadow Spectre, one OCG exclusive, which I think had, as a matter of fact, Wandering Doomed, as well as Wood Remains, and the Dokuro Knight. Now, this about his monster cards, and now I will be coming directly to his spell cards. Just a second. There you go. There we go, there we go, there we go. Well, what I can say, first of all, about how spell cards. The spell cards were very, like I already, I think, mentioned, very focused on the matter and term that he had zombie monsters, which you can combine it like this very card, Book of Life, which can special summon one zombie type monster from the graveyard. Then Pyramid of Wonder, which has the ability to increase your attacks of your zombie monsters for each monster your opponent controls by 200. Then Secret Teeth of Revenge, which I think fits very well with the artwork, and I think if you can negate an attack, and this card can not even be negated. So if a monster attacks, no matter on which side on the field, you can destroy 2 set cards that you control and then negate the attack. And if then an effect monster as a result of that is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can destroy and choose that many monster that your opponent controls. Their attack are equal or fewer than the monster which was destroyed. And then the end phase begins, so he has no possibility to even have a main phase 2. One card which he used, which is Steel Cage of Nightmare. I think that one Battle City, but that one in the Duelist Kingdom era, which is Dispel, of course. One card which I think is very appropriate in order to get more draw power is the Curtain of Darkness. Then 2 times the Mighty Eye, which gives your zombie type monsters the ability, I think as a matter of fact, zombie type monsters with 2,000 attack or fewer to attack your opponent directly, which might come in handy with, of course, cards like Spirit Reaper. Then Foolish Boreal, which I think fits with Chaos the invoke cows the dead invoker or pumpkin the king of ghosts, for example. Then zombie rebirth. Now I have another card in here, or not in here yet, but I will put in here, which is I think zombie necron miser. Yeah, but which also is appropriate to a zombie type deck. Then, which I mentioned also already earlier, Zombie World, but I think I would put it 2 times in there, because it fits very good. Polymerization, of course, one card which he did play out. Ever Living Underworld Cannon, a card which is very handy for this deck in order to, if the condition is if you have the condition that you have many special summon engines in this deck in order to get your zombie type monsters from the graveyard, then you can burn damage your opponent always with 800 effect from an 800 effect damage engine mechanic. And it's in continuous spell cut, so yeah, it will very burn your opponent very much. Then Call of the Mummy, which fits also within this deck. Then the ritual spell from the ritual monster, Rebirth of the Dokuro Rider. Shallow Grave, a card which he did not play out, but I think as he battled against Bakura was the very one who used this card against him. Then Mixed Rebirth with that artwork where it has a zombie on the front of the coming from a graveyard from the artwork. Then Silent Graveyard or Silent Grave or Silent Cemetery. I'm not sure what it's called in English, but it's Silent Cemetery might be the on synonym for it, which negates a graveyard effect from a card which using effects of graveyard. So yeah, if you can slow down your enemy or opponent with it. Then Offerings to the Doomed. Not much of. I guess I speculate that he had this one in the Battle City arc, but I'm not sure. Swords of Concealing a Light, which also is a little bit of an stall effect in order for your opponent to stall him, not having the ability to attack, at least for the current monsters which are on the field, as they are put to face down defense position, cannot attack. Then Ghost Fusion, a card which I also referred to earlier. And self-mummyizing, or mummizing? Yeah, something like that. Self-mummy, or yeah. Something like that. You can put a monster card of yourself to the graveyard. This now onto his normal spells. I have also side deck spells, which I did put in there. 2 other times Book of Moon. Premature Burial, which I'm not that 100% know accurately if he had this card in this arc or in the other one, but I might be right if it wasn't. Maybe he had this one in the Battle City arc. Another card which fits Soul Exchange, another Polymerization, and then Purple Crystal, an attack equip spell card for the purpose to increase your zombie type monster attacks. Cheerful Coffin, which was I think also in the deck list. Stop Defense, which he had in the Battle City arc, I think, or wasn't it Duelist Kingdom maybe? Wasteland, which is a field spell card, and from the Duelist Kingdom saga. In English, what's that called? I think it was called Ghouls? Ghoul? cool culprit bracer or something like that. And Present of the White Elephant, which comes in handy with non-effect type monsters. And then, now that's all about his spell cards. We're getting close to conclude this deck, since even all of the arc, since we've been waiting very long, or you guys been waiting very long, and I was like building and wasn't sure, and then I had no sleeves too, so it took a very long time for me to buy sleeves, and then finally that were getting to me fully, or reaching me. And then as they arrived, I started to get a little bit tighter and stricter with myself in order to really make a conclusion with the Battle City era, as I also want to move on. Now, as I already mentioned, onto straps. First, the efficient draw. Now, if you destroy two or more monsters, you can draw one card for every 2 monsters that you destroyed. And if the trap card is in your graveyard, you can choose a monster that you control, destroy it, and if you do, you can set that card from the graveyard back, so that card might come in handy in this deck. Then, Cemetery Bomb? Or Grave Bomb? I'm not sure how it's called in English, but that comes very handy, because if you you can burn damage your opponent for every card in your graveyard per 100. So it's not that bad. It could be good surprise attack, as a matter of fact. Then Hard Dealing Zombie. Now this card does work very well with another card. Yeah. Always, if you give your opponent battle damage, he has to return one card of the graveyard onto the bottom stack. So you might say the opposite of that one, but does work very well with Exchange Spirit. Exchange Spirit changes your graveyard cards and the deck cards, and if you empty his graveyard, then all of his cards would be in his deck, and if you change it, then you might have maybe 2 or 3 of those left in your as a deck, and the rest of the cards will be in the graveyard. So that is a very strong combination and method in order to really put your opponent close to defeat. Then a card which might work with this card better. I have put 2 strategies in there. One of this is, of course, to empty the graveyard, and one of it is to increase the number of cards in the graveyard. If he gets battle damage, then he has to put 1 in the graveyard. Now, if you can't enforce one of the strategies, then you can switch to the other one. Or if you maybe draw just card from one arc. If you have both, then you have to decide on purpose from the tactics which are currently the one with the most logic and sense. Then this card, Skull Lair, which works very much with these, you might say that would be a combination of cards, or if you put it that way, you take that one away, and then you have the engine, this engine, and this engine. These 3 cards work quite well with each other, and these 2 cards. Then Call of the Haunted, another card which he did use, I think, in the Duelist Kingdom era. This one, he which works also with these cards. Skull Invitation, which burn damages your opponent with, I think, 300 for each card. Always one or more cards. This has a reverse effect because you it's for everybody, either player, not just you, but also your not just your opponent, but also you. 2-10 Mask, which negates an effect which is solely put in against a zombie monster of you. Then Haunting Zombie, which I think was on the deck list. Enma's Judge, which works with zombies as well. And I think it's called Spooky Temple or something like that, which also works with zombie type monsters. And now to the extra, or to the side deck, not the extra deck. One card which he, I think, had in Duelist Kingdom, Call of the Grave, of course. Then I thought a card which might be very handy for this deck, or might fit at least at the artwork, be a good trump card, is Frozen Soul. If your opponent has 2,000 or more life points than you, you can skip the next battle phase of your opponent, so it might be a good trump card. Then Guardian of the Golden Land, which special summons, I think, a zombie type monster with 2,500 defense, so it might be good defense mechanic. And another one of the very efficient draw cards. At last, I have also, of course, forgot about the Silent Doom spell card, which I put in there, and Ryo Koki, which was a monster card, which he might also have used in order to have it as a boss monster. I did not decide finally which cards were put in a zombie deck type monster, as this was or should be more a character deck profile. So maybe I will, if I want to have a more competitive deck, I will put some cards from the side deck in there and exchange them for others. Yeah, but that was it, guys, and I'm very proud and thankful, of course, that you guys went with me within this Battle City journey, you might say. And yeah, I will, of course, now move on onto the next arc, and this is the Cyber Virtual World arc. You will see deck profiles from all of the members of the Big Five, which were employees in the Kyber Corporation, and of course the dead son of Gozabu, the inventor of the Kyber Corporation and stepfather of Hisato Kaiba, also takes part in that. And of course, all of our friends. Even you will get a deck profile of the sister of Joey Wheeler, Serenity, namely, and Duke Devlin, and characters like Tristan, Taylor, as well as Thea Gardner. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the like and the subscribe button, and stay tuned, as I will be moving on with you guys to the next arc, and I will be very pleased to do that. Oh, sorry. There we go. Yeah, as I always say, do comment down below if you liked it, subscribe and hit the like button, and yeah, I will be moving on, and yeah, we'll build another deck profiles. Of course, I was starting off with the main characters and then move on with the other ones. And hope you guys have a great evening. This yours life, Manic. Bye!